Day of the show. So today we're talking about the best practices of shopper safety, and we're going to take a sort of a global look at this because there are different areas are approaching it differently. So we're going to be starting in China, going to Europe, East Coast of the U.S. With Matt and Mark Germasian from 555, and then off to San Francisco, Seattle with Vibhu Norby, who's the CEO and founder of Beta. So one of the things that we want to do is to share what works around the world. So towards the end, Matt's going to give us an overview. But one of the things that we see that worked really well in Shanghai was they did what's called the Double 5 promotion. And Double 5 basically lasted for 55 days. It started on May 5th and went through June. And on the first day, they generated, $2.2 billion of sales revenue. So this really does work. When we look at the the main issue for shopping, and it's very much like the main issue for 9/11, it's really safety. 90% of people will say that safety is the main thing. But I want to talk to you about something that has not been talked about, and that is, we are going to get into great detail about safety, but what are the implications of safety, and what are the business opportunities that are already developed in the marketplace? The first thing I want to talk about is, everybody has 3 seconds, and by that I mean our mind is completely open to any message that we get for 3 seconds. Now, if we don't pass that threshold, the door closes, and then that's pretty much it. So. But what are the implications? Well, there's in the news today and in the news this past week, there's the talk about TikTok. And TikTok is already being used for shopping. And it's being used for shopping information and sharing and so forth. But, it's very possible. And the way TikTok works, it could be a 10-second to a 60-second video. And you can share clothing, ideas, fashion. So for those of you who are, wanting to stay on the cutting edge, maybe you should be talking about your TikTok channel. For those of you who are familiar with this is called Shop Shops. And this is basically an app that goes into a store, and you can actually buy the inventory live from the app. There's a person that is looking at that young lady, and those are the items there. I was in a store in Soho, and they had basically 10,000 people buying things live from China in Soho. And then there's this gentleman. He is the biggest hit in China in terms of lipstick and cosmetics, and almost like a TikTok type situation where he's out there and he's trying on 100 makeups and basically lipsticks in a minute and 20 seconds. Pretty fascinating. Multi-millionaire. Maybe he's 21, 22, kind of taking a TikTok approach and hitting it out of the park. And then there's also live streaming, and we're seeing some of this happen right now. So imagine, if you're a grocer, and I know we have some distinguished guests from Kroger today, and we're very happy to have you. But imagine, the cheese channel at Kroger's, or the meat man, or the meat woman. So there's a lot of behavior shifts that if we can look at what's really going on, these are huge opportunities for companies. So let's continue. Okay. So what I want to do is, kind of boil it down to some basics. So what works in retail, and for those of you who are from the financial community, who I know you're on the call, if you basically were to factor those who will succeed and those who will be less successful, all you really need to do is look at these 8 habits. If you have safety, you're in good shape. If you've got that human touch, and Matt will talk about some examples of Dolce & Gabbana and Alexander McQueen later, you've got a brand story, you've got that store design so it feels safe, you can change, and then Matt is the Harvard case study on being able to manage change. If your people are trained, if you have a unique value proposition, and you've got the right technology, guess what? You're going to come out okay. So what I want to do is to also to share with you our panelists. So we have Du Wong, who basically is the CEO of T11. He is the founder of 7 Fresh, which is one of the most successful grocery stores in China. Tan Jiahu is basically the general manager of Rainbow. Why I have her here is they basically went from a brick and mortar to a digital company in 60 days, and they changed the name of the company. Leif Gortz is the chairman of Telia, and they basically are a 200-plus-year-old company that not only did they reinvent themselves, but they created the second biggest portal in Germany, all within 30 days. Vibhu Norby is the CEO of Beta. He's a former Google Nest engineer, and he thinks of retail as software. And then Mark Jermasian, who's the co-CEO of American Dream, he's in the experience business versus the shopping center business. Matt has been leading the Madison Avenue Business Improvement District with about 400 stores, almost on a minute-by-minute basis, going back to March. We're going to look at Jeff Bezos and Rodney McMullen because they've done outstanding jobs in terms of their leadership. But first, we're going to look at one of the most innovative malls in the world for safety. That was shot in May. It's August. And so you can see that Asia is running generally around 90 days ahead of the rest of the world. I want to talk about 2 leaders who've really made a difference. Jeff Bezos of Amazon. Early in March, he identified that this was going to really challenge Amazon in a way that never before been done. And he personally took over day-to-day control of the organization and quickly implemented basically safe business practices and his basically day one blog. And so here's a leader who really is, playing a very pivotal role in a very critical time. Another leader who I'm so proud of is Kroger. And Kroger very early on understood that this was a situation in which businesses as normal would not be successful. So basically their CEO worked with everyone, including the White House. And here's a little clip from his speech at the White House.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Mr. Vice President. We appreciate all you're doing to get America back to work and doing it safely. I represent Kroger. My name is Rodney McMullen, and I am so proud of our nearly 500,000 associates that are doing everything every day to keep customers safe and our associates safe. And one of the things that we were able to do is provide the basic practices for doing, we call it blueprint. And it's the things that all of us can learn from on how to get America back working. We also announced earlier today, continuing to accelerate our practice on testing. We are actively engaged in 6 states. In the next couple of weeks, we'll take that to 12 states. And the number of tests that we do continues to grow faster than that. Together, we will win. Together, we will solve this problem and move on. America is always great. Thank you again.
So when you have leaders like Rodney McMullen and Jeff Bezos, it really bears well for our ability to come out of this. So early, I believe it was in April, Kroger produced the blueprint for business and is constantly updated. So an active leadership that is very superior and very well welcome. So we're going to talk to, these are Chinese with English subtitles, and then I can answer any questions because we've spent hours conducting these interviews. But hear directly from Duan, who is the CEO of T11 Market. And for those of you who don't know it, it was started by a software company, and they basically created 18 modules and 114 subsystems to basically run their entire operation in real time.
整体来说呢，我觉得我们想的第一件事情就是保障自身的安全，才能够保障用户的安全啊。所以 T11 做的第一件事是，所有的员工，还有一个就是所有我们自己的整个的运营体系里面包括卫生防疫包括消杀包括所有这个安全检查的 SOP 我们做了整个系统的这种调整这是第一个。第二个呢，其实我们在疫情期间里面扩大了线上销售的比例，同时呢，我们也推动这个无接触的物流和无接触的这种支付让整个所有的这种交易环节呢尽量避免就是消费者和消费者，然后这个人员和消费者之间的接触，直接的接触。
首先是我们在公司层面上成立了安全委员会，这是一个由公司主办的各位领导以及各个事业部的核心的总经理去组成的一个组织，然后主要就是把全公司所有的流程和各个执行细节里面的安全做了一个梳理，然后做了一个非常明细的要求，让我们的每一个同事拿到这个都可以按这个要求去清楚的知道，然后在我所在的岗位我应该怎么去做和安全防控工作我可以做什么我不能做什么，大家都有非常明确的这样一个界定，就保证了全公司所有的人都可以齐步走。我们成立了专门的安全预警小组，一旦任何地方发生有任何的顾客也好，还是我们的员工也好，有任何的安全异常问题，比如说体温升高，我们会有立刻的一个专业的流程，把它附送到指定的地点，以最快最安全的方式确保场内和我们的顾客安全。
另外一个呢，就是在 T11 所有的店里面，我们在很早的时候就要求所有的员工比如说要佩戴手套，要定时的这个对洗手消毒，然后口罩、手套。这个甚至是在个别岗位，我们还要求穿防护服，这些呢都很好的保证了整个的系统安全。然后另外在配送环节呢，我们对于我们所覆盖的150个小区，我们免费的给这些社区呢配备了这个就是购物配送的货架。
其实我们还是做了非常多的工作，为了让顾客感觉到店内是很安全的，而且是很舒服的。首先在卖场的入口，我们就做了很多的设计，比如说我们把原来有很多入口变成了单一的入口，或者1到2个入口，在每一个入口我们都安排专人为顾客测试体温，保证每一个入场的顾客他都是安全的，也让每一个在场的顾客他会感觉非常的舒适和有安全感。我们还在场内引进了非常多的快速的，比如红外的测体温的这样的仪器，可以帮助我们很大量的顾客同时去测量体温。同时，我们还设置了很多免洗的洗手液，在所有的顾客能够可以去方便使用的公共区域，让顾客可以自助的去随时随地的去消毒，让他感觉很安全。第三，我们在卖场推出了1.5米的那个安全服务，所有我们的服务人员都跟顾客保持1.5米的距离，同时我们在这样的距离里面还实现1克1消毒。每个顾客到店内试穿过衣服，然后使用过我们的试衣间或者是浏览过的地方之后， 触摸过一些东西之后，我们都会在每个顾客进去之后，为下一个顾客的到来做消毒处理，也是在疫情高峰的期间给顾客带来了很大的安全感。同时我们还设计了很多的就是在线的程序，帮助每个顾客的手机都可以变成一台收银机，可以去实现自助化的随时随地的买单。那这样呢，顾客就不用去，我们不用在场内增加很多的硬件设备，但同时又能让顾客享受到自如的很自由的一个服务。我们在店内为顾客提供了试穿试用的鞋套袜套。那全员都是要求定时做消毒和杀菌的，而且我们的整个店内每一天都会安排在营业结束之后安排专业的人员做大规模的消毒处理，保证我们每一天都是有最大程度的呈现一个安全的环境。
Hello, I'm Catherine from T11 Food Market. Now I'm reporting in our store located in Beijing. When shoppers come to T11, the number of customers went down for the first 2 weeks since the outbreaks, but went back to normal in the late February, and it's totally back to normal as usual for now. People are still wearing masks while going outside. Meanwhile, we shut down our restaurant in the store during February, but reopened it in March. We leave 2 meters between 2 tables for customer safety. But for now, it's already back to normal, but people will only take off their masks before dining. In early February, we control the entering customer number to save more rooms for each other, and we take customer temperature before their entering.
One of the things that we talk about is the ability to reach across to China to ask for best practices, and so we've been doing that. The next person we have is Leif Gortz. He's the chairman of the supervisory board of a company called Thalia. They're the largest bookstore in Germany. What's interesting about them is how they think about the safety and how they approached it. The company was doing contact tracing and social distancing weeks before the German government was talking about it. And as an act of kindness and corporate stewardship, non-essential stores, including bookstores, were closed in Germany. So what Thalia did was they allowed all of the bookstores in Europe to use their platform, and what they wanted in return was that they stay in business. This turned out to be such a great idea that they launched what's called Shop Daheim, Shop at Home, and basically Shop at Home became a platform that handled up to 10,000 businesses. This was all done in 4 weeks as part of the response to the COVID-19. We'll hear Leif discuss it himself.
So what have you learned, I guess, from this? If you can put A, B, C, D, E, F, or 1, 2, 3, or another way to ask it is, if we get COVID-20, hopefully we don't after COVID-19, what would you do differently, or what would you do the same? In more of because many of the people here are at various stages: Brazil, South Africa, and Mexico, China. And so we think it's very helpful to know, so what are the principles of what are the lessons learned from COVID-19? What would you do again? What would you do differently? And suggestions on best practices.
I think what really helped us is when you talk about emergency measures, it's very often a theoretical exercise. Very few companies, including us, have these mechanisms in place. Or if you do it sort of half-hearted, okay, you have a data protection officer who's sitting somewhere in the closet rather than being empowered. And I think what really helped us was that once we turned the switch around, we did crisis management board. And that crisis management board is taking all decisions from now. Around any major decision was run through the crisis team. We're completely empowered. The CEO is sitting on the board. We're dedicated crisis managers. I, as the chairman of the supervisory board, was sitting on the board. So there was no delay in terms of decision making. There was no waiting for board meetings, etc. And when we had decisions that were not operational but sort of went into the shareholders, we had a shareholder call prepared on 48-hour notice, decision-making documents prepared, and then we could make the decisions and really run with it at an operational level. The second part is obviously being remote enabled throughout the entire organization. Again, after what we all experienced, when people are still talking about quarantining or not, and shutting down the offices or not, we had made that decision. We moved to 1/3, 1/3, 1/3. We had just sort of started debating whether we should do 50% or 1/3 at the office. Then we had this case, had to isolate 72 people. Where we said, okay, nobody at the office. And then we did alternating teams where we said in part of the company, we did 50% teams. In the other part, we did 1/3. But I think having that rhythm that half of the staff is coming in the 1 week, and then you have the weekend before and the weekend after. So there's a high likelihood that any area within the 2 days weekend is decontaminated by the time. B, you always have one team that can stay operational. Even if you have a case in the team, you always have a fallback in the other team, and ideally you structure the teams like that. That's something we have in place and that we live. Obviously, all the hygiene equipment. I mean, what we all learned was sanitizer, face masks, gloves. Everything was sold out to storage now, and that's basically a safety or insurance you have to pay for now with what we have learned. Taking the learnings that we had running under difficult conditions with Corona, seeing where we had hiccups, and that's what we're doing right now, doing a full review of what needs to be improved, that if we have another shutdown, or if we do have another, even if it's not a shutdown, but sort of a pulled handbrake where we have implications, and to really have these processes, have these procedures in place that we can know, okay, what can we switch, what can we do, how can we interact? And then the last part, which we're now getting into place, is obviously all the stuff where you're like, okay, we have to get the contact details of customers, we have to try to get their opt-in, etc. Where before it was always a nice to have, now it's a need to have. There's no excuse anymore. You want to be in touch with your customers, you have to know your customer. So we're at a point where everybody in the stores has understood what we did online, what we did with telephone marketing. That was our lifeline for the stores. That's the reason why when a lot of other retailers now really get into serious trouble, we are still doing, obviously within the limits of Corona, but we're still doing reasonably well. And I think that now the last person in the organization has understood, and then making sure that contracts are more flexible, contracts have pandemic clauses, not only epidemic clauses, make sure that all your contracts are in place, that you really can lower your fixed costs if you have to. And that will be a challenge over the next couple of years. And that will be a big challenge in the entire retail sector. You will face situations where you have a lot less footfall, e.g. you will make a lot less revenue. How do you readjust those contracts in the long term that you can sustain your business and that you manage to survive on decreased revenues?
So the interesting thing about that was Leif was in Gibraltar in February, and he visiting his wife's family, and that was shot a couple of weeks ago in Gibraltar. He's just making it back to Berlin after being there for several months. So this has many, many twists and turns. I'm not sure if the video, what we've heard across the world is that those companies that were planning to implement their digital strategy over the next 5 years are doing it over the next 12 months. And this applies to Mark Jermasian, who is the CEO, co-CEO of American Dream, and he's a former tech startup guy. So he is basically reinventing their whole sort of go-to-market on app. And let's hear from him, and he'll tell us exactly what they're doing.
Yeah, we're starting. You'll get your tickets on the app, and then there's a pre-screening. We'll probably have a full announcement about what the app itself will be. We put a lot of thought into it, but we wanted to kind of be on the forefront in terms of, look, this is what we're doing to make sure you're safe, but it'd be great if you could do your part too. And if we can combine the two, it almost enables us to be the safest place to go outside of your home. And so that's really what we're trying to focus on with the purpose of the app that we'll be launching.
So what we're going to do is we're going to highlight, we've got Matt here for just a little bit longer, so I want to just get him live. So this video will be available online. And then we also have Vibu Norby.
So now we're up to...
And Vibu will tell us about the incredible job that BID is doing. But I want to go to Madison Avenue, our man on the street there, Matt Bauer, who's the president of the Madison Avenue Business Improvement District. And if you could just tell us, Matt, what is going on? What's the state of dining? What stores are doing better? There's always a surprise or two when you look at the state of expectations. So why don't you take it away, Matt? Where are we right now on Madison Avenue? You're on mute, Matt. Just need to, yeah.
Sorry. Thank you for having me on again. I do appreciate it. And welcome to New York City. Actually, you can see a little bit out of it in my corner of my window there. And the interesting thing, that building that you're seeing is an office building. But we're actually at the very edge of the Upper East Side residential community. And the one thing that we're seeing that's very, very positive is that the residents that are here are very much supporting their local businesses. And that especially you can see in the restaurants. New York City created a very turnkey system whereby restaurants that are not allowed to serve indoors, because that's not permitted in New York City, could actually put tables out on the sidewalk and actually into the curb lane, into the street itself, provided that there is a safety barrier around the seating area. And that's been, tremendously successful. And you're seeing a real lifeline to restaurants and a way for people here in the community to show their support and to come out. And, if you come out here in the evening, you'll see virtually every table is full. There is actually a line to get in. Of course, a socially distant line, but the restaurants really are imbuing a tremendous amount of life on the street. Interestingly, in terms of retail, most of the stores at this point are reopened on Madison Avenue. And just to give you an example, we have 9 children's stores that are open, 6 consignment shops, 7 cosmetic shops, 13 eyeglass stores, 111 fashion boutiques, 30 shoe stores and jewelry, 25 jewelry stores, all reopened. But they're open in different ways. So for example, the Dolce & Gabbana store on Madison Avenue is open only by appointment. The Ralph Lauren flagships on Madison Avenue are open to the public. However, they're still maintaining curbside pickup and remote stylist appointments, because that's been very successful. And, different clients have different expectations about safety and what they want to do about coming into store. Other businesses like Alexander McQueen and Chrome Hearts on Madison Avenue have really hot items, and people are coming by to pick them up. And you'll see right now there's rope and stanchion on the street on Madison Avenue, so people could wait in line to come into the store socially distant, because there is still a capacity requirement within businesses. They only can be within 50% of occupancy here. All are providing sanitizer, all are cleaning items, all are making that all very public about what they're doing. And one of the interesting things is that when you go into a store right now on Madison Avenue, instead of seeing all the safety items or cleaning items that you would normally see at the back of the house, they're right in the front of the house, because you really want to see it, to demonstrate that degree of safety. And just to pick up at a point that you made, Dan, about opportunities. Madison Avenue has always been a place that's been focusing on private shopping, smaller number of clients coming into store at the same time, been much more of a private shopping destination. And this has really been our forte. And now that stores are reopening again, this ability to provide private shopping, very intimate experience, is really something that has been very important and to making Madison Avenue a unique shopping destination, and actually positions us positively as much as you could be in this very troubled time in a positive direction. So maintaining a private opportunities for private shopping, for after-hour shopping, 4-hour shopping is really something still so important to maintaining that feeling of safety for clients that are looking for our products.
Matt, you were talking about Alexander McQueen before. You said that there was a line out there, so I guess you're some success stories there.
Yeah, they have a brand new sneaker line that's very, very popular, and people are waiting in line to come in. We have a store called Chrome Hearts, has a new hat, very, very popular, and also people are waiting to come in. And there is now rope and stanchion out on the sidewalk to maintain a safe environment and to make sure people know that they have to wait to come in. So that's something that that really does work.
I think that's great. For those of you, because we always promise about an executive summary for 30 minutes. So there are many resources. We couldn't cover everything we had today. Everything that we've done, all the interviews going back to March, all the research that we've conducted, all the editorial pieces, they're on our site. And we welcome you to join. We feel that by learning together, we're going to recover stronger. And companies, great companies like Kroger and Amazon and the Madison Avenue Business Improvement District and our colleagues in China are all helping, and actually colleagues around the world, helping share best practices. So, if you have a question, or if there's a certain topic that you want to add, we basically consider this like a news broadcast, and we're basically changing right up to the deadline here. So we do have some good events coming up. There's Matt. A couple of weeks ago, we shot him, and we welcome you to come and visit us. I'm speaking in Shanghai in a couple of weeks, so my overview of the U.S. marketplace is available on the site. We really want to support our small businesses and many of us here. So we're going to be putting a special effort on the 25th to put everything we possibly can in our 30 minutes or 45 minutes as a resource to help small businesses, because small businesses are the drivers of growth here in the United States, and we want to be sure that they're fully supported. So we thank you, Matt. You've been invaluable in terms of your insights, real time. And just to tell you, for those who are just joining us, Matt basically was, I call him the Scrum Master, and that for those of you in software development, he basically was holding meetings almost every day with hundreds and hundreds of stores, giving them real-time information, getting classes for them, training them, coaching them, and encouraging them to be successful. And it's a tribute to your leadership, Matt, and the leadership of many of the great CEOs that we highlighted here in today's presentation. Again, we believe that by learning together, we're going to recover much stronger. We thank you very much, Matt, and we thank you for those of you who joined us today. And then if you're late, you missed something, just go to the site. Everything is there for you in English and Chinese and also in Spanish. We hope you have a wonderful day. Matt, thank you again, and we'll have you back. Okay, bye-bye.